Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webcast. Cloud Migration Made Easy, Prepare Properly and Completely Before, Manage Effectively After. This is sponsored by Device 42. I'm Tracy Cook with Redmond Channel Partner, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping details. We'll be hosting a Q&A session after the presentations. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can. Device 42 has provided quite a few resources for your review, and they're on the console, so please take a minute and check them out. This entire webcast is being recorded and will be archived for future viewing, and we'll send you an email when the replay is available, and that should be in the next 24 to 48 hours. And now on to the webcast. I'd like to welcome and introduce our speakers. Joining us a little later is Luis Roeto, and he's Director, Product Ecosystem for Direct 42. Lou has spent the last 15 years as a technology professional helping partners achieve success and solving problems across a wide array of verticals. He strives to provide world-class support and strategic thought to all partners and customers he works with. And opening up the program today is our guest speaker, Howard M. Cohen. He's a senior consultant with the Tech Channel Partners Results Group. He's a 35-year plus executive veteran of the information technology industry who today writes for and about the IT channel. He's a frequent speaker at IT industry events that include Microsoft Inspire, Citrix Synergy, Summit, ConnectWise, IT Nation, Channel Pro Forums, Cloud Partner Summit, MicroCorp One-on-One, and CompTIA Channel Con. And, of course, he frequently hosts and presents at webinars just like this one today. So it's a joy to have both of you with us today. I'm looking forward to a great webcast. Howard, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and welcome everybody to today's webinar presentation. As Tracy mentioned, I am a 35-plus year IT channel executive. What's not in my bio here is that I worked in my first MSP organization in 1997, which is before it was ever called MSP. Back then, we called it Network Monitoring and Management, and that's because that's what we did. So it was very descriptive. Big changes since then, but some things have not changed, and I'm going to focus in on some of them today. My goal is to give you some food for thought about how to proceed forward from here to grow your business, expand your business, and how to leverage our friends from Device 42 to help you do that. So let me start off where we should all be starting off, with goals. Okay? Love talking about goals. One of our big goals, satisfied customers. Everyone on this webinar today and everybody you know who's in the business, we all want to satisfy our customers because that means they'll be coming back. On the other side of the coin, though, while we're satisfying customers, we also want to be sure that our organization is achieving profit. Profit's a very big part of the formula. It's a part sometimes we tend to forget when we're in the passionate heat of trying to support a customer and satisfy a customer. But at the end of the day, we can't keep the doors open without it. So it's very, very important to stay focused on keeping your company healthy, keeping your company profitable. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to follow how to keep it profitable. There really are only two ways. There are only two ways of keeping the company profitable, and that should be very comforting. It should be easy. Let's go over those two ways. One of them is to reduce your costs. Here we have a handful of incandescent bulbs. We're going to swap them out for one LED bulb, which is going to operate much more cost effectively over much more time, be much more durable, require much less maintenance, much less involvement, therefore lower cost for a good long period of time to come. This is just one way to reduce costs. Of course, in your own organization, you know that every time you move somebody to cloud, you're reducing their costs. They no longer have to power any equipment. They no longer have to cool any equipment. They no longer have to maintain any equipment. So reducing costs is a big part of the formula when you're selling cloud to customers. It's also a big part of the formula for increasing profit in your business. Okay, that's one of the two ways. The other way is to increase revenue. Now here again, there are two ways to increase revenue. I guess you're probably wondering what this photo illustrates. This illustrates the idea of creating new customers. Not exactly like this, but you all know that it is a challenge to find new customers and attract them to your practice because there's so much competition out there. And there's so many people, doing MSP work, and some of them are doing quality MSP work. So there is viable competition out there. We need to figure out, how do we get to those new customers that we're not selling to yet. The other way to increase revenue is to sell more to existing customers. Now, clearly, this young entrepreneur here knows her customer well, knows she prefers lemonade, and she's feeding it to her. It's really wonderful. But selling more to existing customers, as most anybody will tell you, is supposed to be 5 times easier than trying to create a new customer. Right? 5 times easier. It's probably more than that. You have the trust of your customer. They know who you are. They know what they can expect from you. You have their confidence. You've done great work for them before, and they anticipate that anything you do for them going forward is going to be equally great. And that's why it's so much easier to sell more to an existing customer. Here's the challenge. What is it that you need if you're going to sell more to existing customers? And the simple answer is you need more to sell. You need more to sell. So, you sold them some things. Now you need more things to sell to them. Now that shouldn't be too hard, should it? You need to add new things to your portfolio. Okay? Each of you has a service portfolio. Each of you has a variety of services you offer to your customers today, and you show that portfolio to your customers with great pride, and rightly so. These are the wonderful things you've done for customers before and continue doing for customers and will continue doing for customers. So how do you find more things to do for customers? Well, back in the early days, back in the 1980s and 1990s, when I joined this industry, we all went to the back of Byte magazine. Some of you may not recognize that fellow there on the cover of Byte magazine. That is the original IBM PC. Introduced in August of 1981, just 2 months before I joined the industry. And all sorts of products started coming out that would work with the IBM PC. So what did we do? We went to the What's New page in the back of Byte magazine, and there were pages upon pages upon pages of new stuff, new things that we could sell to the customers who had already bought IBM PCs from us, and maybe even Apple IIs, and soon after that, compact luggables. And as things started to roll out, there was more and more for us to sell, and everything we were selling was a new product. So you just had to go find a new product and then advertise it to your customers as a product that you offer from your warehouse. Now, it happens that the Computer Factory is the company that I started with back in the 1980s, and that's what we did. We constructed these ads and sold out of our 67 locations nationwide, but it was all about product, 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 product. Made it easy. If a new product came out, we decided if we felt good about it, we sold it. These days, so we were just looking for something new to sell, a new product to sell. That's not the case anymore. The Computer Factory takes credit for beginning the process of discounting. We were the first ones to start really slashing prices to be more competitive than everybody else. It was a foolish thing to do, but we were young, we were foolish. What did we know? So we're not doing that anymore, neither is anybody else. The reality is you really can't build your business bigger and better by simply finding new stuff in catalogs and offering it off to your customers. That's not the way the business works today. In the MSP world, we have to find new things to do. New things to do for our customers, things that we haven't done for them before. If we're currently monitoring their network, well, now we need to monitor their servers. If we're monitoring their servers, well, next maybe we need to monitor their security. And then maybe we need to remedy any problem that happens in their network or with their security. And that's, that keeps going, but eventually we start to run out of good ideas. That's when you really need the toolbox for tomorrow's MSP. And where does that come from? So teachers are known for their tools. Their tools are chalk, blackboard, Dewey system cards, the tools that a teacher typically uses. Farmers are known for their tools. They're known for their pitchforks and shovels and tractors and combines and whatever else they use to till the land and produce food for all of us. Bakers, of course, their bowls, their spoons, their boards and flour and all the tools they use to cook for us. And carpenters are hammers and saws and screwdrivers and so forth. And, of course, doctors and their stethoscope, things that they insert into our flesh very painfully, all kinds of manner of devices for looking into our eyes and our ears and our noses and so forth. Those are the common tools of all of these different professions. But our question is, what is a tool for the MSP? Once again, I'm going to step back a little bit, back to my early days in the industry. One of the most popular tools back in the 1980s and 90s was called a packet sniffer. Sniffer was a device everybody wanted. They were very expensive, and some practices really just couldn't budget for them. But with a packet sniffer, you could actually see the packets crossing the network and understand what was happening with them. Were they malformed? Were they hitting cyclic redundancy checks? Were they crashing? There was all kinds of colliding, rather, all kinds of things that could happen, and you could see that with your packet sniffer, and you could remedy that because now you knew what was going on. Soon, we all started working with simple network management protocol, which helped us to interrogate the management information base of all the different devices that we had in our networks. The thing is, even in these early days, we were being a little bit less than totally transparent. Yes, we could see the condition of any server, of any router, of any switch, of any printer, of any device that had an SNMP nib. We could interrogate that, and we could find out what was going wrong with that, and we could very quickly remedy that. The reality is, all of those devices were extremely, extremely reliable. So we seldom found ourselves remedying a problem with a device. Instead, the bulk of what we did was to remedy problems with circuits provided by the major carriers. We became very adept at throwing different government agencies at them to warn them that we're going to complain if they don't solve this problem quickly. Not exactly a key skill, but it helped us back then. Power was the other area. If power went down, we had to remedy that. Those were more frequent than anything else. So those were tools that we used, protocols that we used. Eventually, we developed remote monitoring and management as an art. And we did it for everything, as you do today. Did for everything. This helps you manage at the edge, where all the user devices are. Helps you manage at the core, where your servers and storage are. But the reality is that that's not where it ends anymore. Now we have to go further. Now we have to manage infrastructure that's occurring in the cloud. And then we have to also manage hybrids of cloud and on-prem public and private cloud, and so forth. And the reality is that today, everything is hybrid. Everything. Very few implementations have just one or just the other. And it's going to be that way for some time to come as we continue to transition. So we need tools to monitor that and help us continue to maintain excellent performance in those environments. So today, what are the tools of today's MSP? And the reality is that the tools for today's MSP are all software. Software, as a matter of fact, as an industry, is in a very interesting transition. Looking at the list of attendees, I can tell you that at least one of you is already doing what I'm about to describe, and you're showing some serious leadership in this vein. But what do I mean by software in transition? Well, as far back as we can remember, software has been something that we sell. There are licenses for the use of software that we sell, or they're sold to us, rather, by software companies. We then sell them to our customer. Of course, you're going to raise your hand and say, there are distributors in the middle of that, and you're right. You're absolutely right. It goes from the software provider to the distributor or aggregator. Then it comes to the reseller, and then it goes to the customer. That's the typical channel path of products, and that's how it's been for the 40 years that I've been around this channel. Okay, that's changing, and it's changing radically. Now, software licenses are being sold to you for you to use yourself, providing services to your customer. Instead of selling the software to them and expecting them to actually use the software, they're having you use the software to perform the services the software is meant to deliver. Now, this is very important. Why? Going back to the fact that the discounting we did starting in the 1980s and just rocketing forward to today has taken all the profit out of product. Every time a vendor, hardware, software, or otherwise, comes to you and says, oh, you can get a 40-point margin on this product, they're kidding. And you know they're kidding. Because, and they're not lying, but the reality is that your competitor will take that price and immediately cut it down to 1 point, or maybe basis points, even less than 1 point. And you have to compete with that. So that's why there's no margin in selling products, not because of the manufacturers or the providers, but because of the competition. Okay, well now, when a software provider provides you with a license so that you can turn their software into a service that you deliver to your customer, you get to set the price. And you get to charge that customer for the service you deliver. Finally, at least on the software side of things, you can significantly improve your profitability using software, leveraging software, rather than trying to sell software. And by doing so, you do something your customer always wants you to do. You enable them. So it can be said that these software licenses enable you to enable your customers. And that is a big, big change. By the way, for those of you who are almost or as old as me, you may remember the consultant's license. That's what we called it back in the early days. It was around. We did it. Software companies sold us licenses that we could use to monitor and manage and fix and so forth, but it was a very small part of the business. Today, it's where much of the software business is going. And it's very exciting because it creates new opportunities for those of you who are here today. So now you are out there enabling your customers with software that is sold to you by software providers who enable you. And the next thing you do, rather than going to the back of Byte magazine, is to start to cast about and look for software providers whose software you could be using as a tool. Well, the good news is, while you are thinking about this, I happen to have one of those software providers here today. They give you multiple choices. You can still resell their software, but you can also choose to leverage their software to do a wide variety of things that you may not yet be doing for your customers. So without further ado, Lou, why don't you tell them what software tools look like?
Yeah, I will do. That's great. Thank you, Howard, for that lead up. So yeah, like Howard mentioned, my name is Lou Roetto. I'm from Device42. Go through a little bit of information about our company, the product, and how we partner with our partner ecosystem. As Tracy mentioned beforehand, I'm the director of our partner ecosystem, and we'll touch into what that really means at Device42. But as you can see, we've been around since 2012. We're going on to our 9th year. We, assist all different types of clients in many different verticals to, solve the problems that they're looking for, including creating a more robust toolkit or group of tools to be able to accomplish their needs. We do have many different global partners, whether they're SIs, resellers, service providers, domestic, and on the global front. And we are based in Connecticut with offices in Boston and Denver as well. So, enterprises and their trusted partners really rely on Device42 to provide end-to-end visibility, insights, and recommendations for their complex hybrid IT landscapes, which really enables them to manage, adapt, and transform faster, more efficiently, and with lower risk. And the way we do that is really kind of 3 pillars. We're going to go in and we're going to discover the entire ecosystem or infrastructure. We're then going to inventory after we discover, so we're going to mark down what we see and put the data back into our interface. And then the third thing, we're going to map the dependencies between any applications that are running. Our current and our founding CEO was basically living this problem from day to day. He was an IT consultant, and he looked in the landscape and really quickly realized there was no really robust tool that could go ahead and discover and give you an accurate portrayal of what you have in that environment. And so that really motivated him to start with Device42. And he's still our current CEO, and he still believes in that. It's still something that he thinks about a lot in terms of our roadmap and what we do to just, evolve the product. We are a partner-first company at Device42, and I've worked for several companies that state that. We actually incentivize our sales reps with a higher commission when they bring in partners rather than going direct. And being a partner-first company allows us to really set up a nice ecosystem for our partners in terms of what they can expect, the support they get, even spiffs for trained resources and a full partner portal. So myself and the rest of my partner ecosystem team really spend a lot of time, a lot of cycles on what else we can provide, what else makes an accurate and a very useful landscape for our partners to come into, how we deal with them, and the resources that they have on their side. For our partners, there are really 3 ways that we find that we deliver value. And of course, we have our own ideas and concepts of what we think we're doing, but we hear this directly back from our partner community. Number 1, we really help them accelerate their clients' migration and transformation.
It would seem that we've lost Lou's microphone. Please wait with us a moment while we try to bring that back. As you can see, Lou is focused right in on the opportunities for you as integrators and providers of technologies and technology services. The focus on migration. Migration is, by the way, a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You've all seen migration tools in the market.
People, partners, and users, when they come to us, they have a really common challenge. There's an event that happens with a customer or a partner that might be a cloud migration or something like a data center merger or audit. But what we find is that the data we generate through discovery is valuable going forward to across a number of different use cases and challenges. And so once we get in there, common questions we get, you'll see in the middle of the slide here, is what do I have? Is it right? Is it up to date? Who has the latest technology? Who has the latest spreadsheet with all of our assets listed on there? Who do I contact? And throughout that, we answer those questions really by migrating to that public cloud is one of the use cases. But what we see quite a bit is our partners use the data set we provide, and you'll hear me say that concept, the data set, several times in this presentation. But they're going to use that to provide and accomplish the goals that they want to achieve. We allow several ways to gather and manipulate that data, including canned and advanced reports. We have an open database connection as well as full RESTful APIs with a query language on top. So you not only have the data at your disposal, but you can dice it up and splice it up the exact way you like. One of the main and most important factors to delivering a thorough and successful migration or transformation is to really understand the current environment. Proper assessments allow for less outages and a more strategic planned approach. The data included in a proper assessment should be easily accessible and have the ability to work with other popular migration tools. When all of that is combined together, assessments are no longer based on hope, but rather are data-backed decisions with a strategic approach going forward. And there's a couple of points in our product that we really utilize to make all that accomplishable. Number one is after we do our discovery, we can set up a resource utilization in our cloud recommendation engine. This is really going to look at your asset. It's going to check and see how long historically what they've been using in terms of their disk, their network input, output, CPU, and memory. So you can see if you're utilizing that current technology or possibly overutilizing it. So knowing that and seeing that allows us then to recommend certain instances in different cloud environments. So we can say historically you've been using this box or this host, but you've been underutilizing it. So once you migrate that over to one of the cloud providers, that's going to allow you to know exactly what size of instance you need. So once again, saving money, transforming to the right size, and really, really making it easy to understand what you've been using and how to transform or migrate that over. And really what the application dependency mapping is how it all comes together. Understanding who is talking to who and what impact those hosts and services will encounter when shut down or removed. Through services discovery and traffic mapping, we can create the entire application infrastructure so there's little to no guesswork when doing the migration of the transformation. And, what we do is we try to listen to our partners and really understand where the values come from. And this is, once again, not something that we cooked up or something that we developed, but this is feedback that we get back from our partners. And what they said is that, they really understand that the partner and what they're required to do is not only sell products or use a toolkit, but also create advisory revenue on top of that, and also recurring revenue. And so kind of a quick example here from our partner community is when they spend $1 of licensing with Device 42, that translates to roughly almost 10 times the advisory value or revenue to the partner. Now they understand what they have. They're looking in that, providing other different services around that, what was discovered. And then even on top of that, it can influence more revenue throughout the channel as well. So, pulling up different services, understanding that they have some equipment or technology that's going end of life, and they want to go ahead and right-size that and get that up to speed. It really just pulls out that data set with that valuable and rich data so that now they can cut that up, they can dice it up, they can use that for their own needs and really drive revenue, because now within that data set, they have a very, very transparent view of what's going on. And what we hear more times than not is they understand what's happening in that IT environment, more so than the end user or the customer does. And being able to show that back to them opens up so many different revenue channels to the partner that they can now go and use that for different means and different services that they want to provide. There are three real major components, and we touched on this earlier in the slide. First is discovery. As I mentioned, we focus on providing the most comprehensive discovery available, very deep in terms of breadth and how wide we go in terms of our support. We're always bringing in new technologies or older legacy technologies into our discovery pool. Many discovery tools are available to handle simple infrastructure, say just Windows and Linux common technologies. What we provide is support from mainframe all the way to the latest cloud technologies, say OpenVMS all the way up to Docker, or mainframe all the way to Kubernetes. And this is what customers and partners tell us they want. They don't want a separate tool for cloud or for data center or for on-premise or for virtualization layers. They want one tool to discover it all and pump all that information back into one pane of glass and one user interface. The second component is really mapping those application dependencies, which, as you know, is very critical as infrastructure is abstracted from machines and locations. This is a big area of investment for Device42 that we can spend some time on later on if there are questions. But this is what we really, really hone in on. And this is really the tool that's going into the toolkit, understanding those dependencies and really mapping out all the applications and who they're talking to. And the third component is really the integrations. We don't want to live in a silo, so we view integrations as critical and have built out a robust network of partnerships along with strong general API that anyone can use. And so when you put all three of those together, it really provides a tool that's going to allow our partners to achieve their goals while still solving the problems that their end users and their customer base are bringing forward. So we won't go too deep into the technical details on this, but specifically for large complex environments and why our customers and partners prefer Device42, really simply put, Device42 has support for all vendor native API methods to an agentless discovery, whether it's SSH or WMI or APIs, VMware, AWS, Azure, whatever it might be. We have agents that we can deploy for those more lockdown and edge cases. We have our remote collectors, which is a small version of our main appliance, which really handles load balancing and can work to really pull in that data from either logically or geographically, physically separated environments. We collect data from a lot of different methods, and I'll touch on that in the next slide or two. And we do the correlation intelligent mapping. You can then visualize the data within the tool in a variety of ways, or even use it outside of Device42, as I mentioned. Pushing that data out is something that's very important to us because we know that data is really the crux and the emphasis of why you're using the tool. And being able to get the information you want from that data, we think is a very important thing. So, as I mentioned, provide a lot of different ways for that to happen. And here's just a couple different differentiators from us. We like to keep things very simple in terms of deployment. So we do offer we do issue a pre-configured appliance to throw on a variety of hypervisors. We're all agentless, so no requirement to install some sort of software on all the nodes. That makes things a little bit easier. As I mentioned, we provide agents for the lockdown environments, but most of our deployments are agentless. We do provide a lot of different ways, whether it's the remote collectors, just to scale, just to get bigger. So a lot of our partners will drop into a network environment and quickly realize that there are more devices, more assets than they originally planned for. It's very simple to scale in terms of our architecture to, provide the ability to be able to pull down and discover all those additional devices. And, around security and just, really making sure that we're always trying to, use the lowest privilege credentialing when we need that to access certain devices and get information out of it. All of our data can remain on-premise, so there's no call home, there's no aggregation of that data that's sent out to us, so we don't touch your data, we don't have your data. And we don't even require internet access, so this can all be within the firewall. So if that CISO suite is really worried about outside access, we keep that all contained within the firewall. And as I mentioned, you'll notice there's several different non-proprietary protocols that we use to discover. And we basically will group all those together. So when you're looking at the user interface, you're not worried about each protocol and what information is brought in. So I'm going to consolidate that into one view so you can easily see all your devices, all the technologies, like I mentioned, all the way from your old mainframe ad systems, all the way up into your cloud and your virtualization layers. A big part of what we do and the strength of our product, as I mentioned, comes from our discovery and the fact that we are often the only tool that can discover legacy infrastructure like OpenVMS, AIX, but also supporting the modern infrastructures like the cloud and your virtualization layers. And this slide keeps expanding as we find and work with our partners to discover something that may not have been on our portfolio beforehand. So we're constantly evolving this and adding more to it just to increase the breadth and depth of our discovery and really to give back to that partner community and really have a partnership with them. So we're providing them a dynamic, evolving tool that's always going to fit their needs. We did just recently bring in some storage technology, so now we can go in and get into your storage arrays, really get a deep understanding of the input-outputs within those arrays, what's being utilized, what's being overutilized, and pushing that back as well. I've mentioned a couple other reasons why that we feel that people partner with us, and once again, this comes right from our partner community. We hear this over and over. A couple of the things we hear is that we are shockingly easy to do business with. It's something that we live by. We try to make it easy in terms for our partners to work with us by providing unlimited remote pre- and post-sale support. We work with them during the pre-sale cycle to demonstrate the value of the product, to really help architect it before deployment, even after deployment, really understanding how to get the right information out, the right data at the right times, and understanding how to visualize and comprehend that data once it's been pulled in there. We have several different licensing models that allow our partners to go to market, really the methodology of their go-to-market to sustain and not push to our go-to-market. So we provide a lot of different options, really just providing our partners with, choices along the way to be able to, and Howard mentioned this either, to either resell the product or use it in your toolkit for assessment purposes. And, I think everyone has a logo slide. I think we put ours up here. We've built a great group of customers over the past 7 years. What we've been concentrating for the last 2 years is building up our relationship with partners. We've established long relationships with some of the larger global system integrators, LNC, DXC, Wipro, name a few. And that's really enabling us to bring what we do to the larger group, to the masses. And I think, really the thing to focus in on this slide is that middle box of hardware and software providers. A lot of the companies you use every day, whether you're partnered or you're just using it for your normal day-to-day business. And so having them either partnering with us or as a customer of ours, we find just really brings into our portfolio and really shines through on what we could do. Obviously, we think we do a well job, but when you have large companies like this that use our software for different means, I think that really speaks through. And I believe that's the last slide. They ended a couple minutes early. So I think we just wanted to open this up to questions if we have any right now.
Great, Lou. Thank you. The first question is really a relationship question. We've been talking about MSPs throughout both your presentation and mine. One of our attendees asks, can we get some help as a consultant rather than as an MSP partner? I could use the tools to show my clients and then get your folks involved. Is there a relationship with that that's available from Device 42?
Yeah, we offer, the question was, do we offer a package for if you're a consultant to be able to work with that? Whether, the consultant play, we would work a couple different ways. We would show you how to do that. We would provide that thing for you. So even as a consultant, we can, allow you to use our software as a toolkit, walk with you the whole way, and provide consultation back to that end user or whoever you're working with. So we do have certain methods of that we do right now. But to, answer the questions, that's something we would certainly entertain. And, if there's other questions about that or you'd like a deeper conversation, my contact information's right there. I'd be happy to answer, get into it a little bit more with you.
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend that to the person who posed that question. I think you need to have more of a discussion with Lou about that, and he'll be able to clarify the kinds of relationships that Device 42 can enter into with you. The next question really expands upon that a bit, Lou, asking what does Device 42 support look like, not only before, during, and after the sales cycle?
Yeah, so for our partners, we offer pretty much unlimited remote support. We like to really work with the partners to get them up to speed so they understand how to not only use the software but talk about it and accurately portray the benefits of it. And so from a partner perspective, as I mentioned, unlimited remote support pre and post sales. We do a lot of demos where we basically will work with the partner and each kind of divvy up some of the, the work that we're doing during the demo. We work with partners before the demos, after the demos, and even, like I said, post implementation to really go back to educate the partners on what we can, what we can provide, what data is there, and how to get that data out, and then really accurately communicate the value of that data back to the end user. So to answer your question from a partner perspective, really unlimited remote support along the entire process and the entire sales cycle, including post-sales.
Excellent. And one of the questions that I have, actually, a lot of our listeners are in the midst of transitioning to becoming an MSP. They've been resellers, they've been VARs, they've been in various other roles, but now they're entering into the MSP model, and they still have a way to go. One of the things they'll be looking for from partners will be training. Does Device 42 have any kind of training that they can offer to these kinds of partners?
Yeah, we offer all kinds of training. So we have a partner portal that's very robust where we offer, we have training. We have a sales associate level. We have a technical advanced level. It's all video-based, self-paced training. We do that. We offer monthly or about every 6 weeks a 3-day advanced course for a real deep dive in terms of implementing and getting very technical with the product. We also do ad hoc lunch and learns and just, more customized training for our partners when they can get large groups out. So the answer to that question is all of the above. We really, it's well within our interest to get our partners trained, and, all of our trainings right now are 100% free. So we encourage all of our partners to drop into those and get as much out of it as they can.
Great. Question regarding, we talked about leveraging Device 42 to help increase your own services revenue. And I mentioned the idea of having your own services portfolio. Some people refer to it as the services catalog. Is there any way that anybody at Device 42 can help any of our listeners to develop things like that, give them advice as to pointers as to how to build these reusable engagement models or services, service definitions?
Absolutely. We jump at that chance. We would like to sit with our partners and let them really tell us first what services they offer. What we typically do, we'll hear what they offer, and then we can expand on it and say, well, you offer this, but have you thought of this? Can you expand on that and move it here? So we will really sit with our partners and for the large group of our partners, we have a dedicated partner manager that's going to sit with them and strategically think about how either to embed the product in their service offerings, how to expand that, and really become that consultative approach and, member and team around not just how they can sell our software, but how they can expand their own revenue and services to make, just the revenue that they want to. So that's absolutely something we do all the time. We are constantly talking about how we can expand and how we can make our partners more revenue.
Fabulous. Talking about jumping on an opportunity, one of our listeners wants to know, all right, how do I get more info? How do I get a hands-on trial?
You can go right there to device42.com partners. We have on-premise trials you can set up. We have interactive demos that you can look through on our website as well, device42.com. You can email myself, and we can set up a session together, and I can walk through and really bring in a solutions architect and walk through the entire product, and so you get a really good understanding.
Excellent. Okay, it looks to me like we've run short on questions. Personally, I have to tell you, I've seen quite a few different tools here. It's quite an array of tools here, all of which can be applied to different kinds of services. So I hope that our listeners will take you up on that, and will reach out to you and work with you on leveraging your tools to create their services and increase their profits. Thank you to you, Lou, for introducing us to these tools. Thank you to everybody on the call today. And with that, I'll say have a great rest of the day. And Tracy, right back to you.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. Thank you to both of you. That was a great presentation. Really good Q&A. We really appreciate you taking your time to be with us and share your expertise with us. So thank you so much. And I'd also like to thank the audience for attending the webcast today, sponsored by Device42 and presented by Redmond Channel Partner. With that, I'd like to close out the event. So thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and this concludes today's webcast. Thank you.